Hey, welcome everyone to TechAllies, the conversation, a podcast where we sit down with today's technology leaders for discussions about the people behind the roles, the work that matters to them, and the impact they're trying to make today. I'm your host, Billy Mitchell, and on today's episode, we go beyond the title of George Nunez, President and CEO of SQA Squared. At TechAllies, we believe in authentic connection, collaboration, and giving back, and today's guest embodies all of that. George, thanks so much for joining us today. How are you?
Thank you for having me, Billy. I'm doing great. Thank you.
Good. I love it. Well, hey, just as a reminder to you, as well as the people listening or watching, we're going to break our podcast up into three primary sections. Number one, we're going to talk about you. We want to get to know who George is, your personal journey, a little bit about how you got to where you're at now. Number two, we want to spend a little bit of time talking about what you're working on today. So maybe that's personal, maybe that's work, maybe the lines are blurred and it's all the same. And then number three, we want to talk about TechAllies, your involvement with them, the group, and really what's impacted you the most through your time with them. So, and you and I, my first time meeting you was at an event, so I'm going to be excited to share that story as well. So without further ado, are you ready to jump into it?
Ready to go.
Love it. All right. So for those who do not know you, and maybe this is the first time seeing George and getting to hear from you, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get to where you're at now? And feel free to spend some time in even the earlier years.
Sounds good. Well, Billy, really, I wouldn't normally be here without the right support and exposure early on in my life. I come from an immigrant family that came to the United States looking for opportunity. But, we really didn't have a roadmap of how to get there. What changed everything for me was exposure. Someone took the time to show me what was possible in STEM, encouraged me to pursue college, and helped me believe that I belonged in those spaces. And that's something that stayed with me and why I connect so closely with TechAllies. The idea that access, relationships, and someone opening a door at the right time can completely change a person's trajectory, that's not theoretical to me. That's something that I've experienced firsthand.
That's awesome, and definitely embodies a lot of what TechAllies is about. So I have a feeling when we get to that section, it's going to be a good conversation. So obviously, you've got a lot to pull from, and I would love to be able to spend a long time talking about that adventure and how you got to where you're at. But if you could think of some of those early experiences that really shaped how you lead today, what are some of those that come to mind?
In thinking about it, early in my career, like I mentioned earlier, I had people who were intentional about opening doors and creating exposure and opportunities in tech. What I realized quickly is how much that kind of access accelerates someone's growth when it's paired with trust and real responsibilities. That's shaped how I lead. I focus on creating environments where people don't just have to wait years to contribute. They're given visibility, ownership, and the chance to grow into bigger roles earlier, because those moments tend to have a disproportionate impact on someone's trajectory. So that's my story.
Yeah, I love it. I would definitely understand and agree with that. Whenever I'm hiring people onto our team, I always remember we're hiring them for a reason, right? So we've got to get them doing that expert job that they've been hired to do. And anytime you kind of put them on the back burner, it's kind of like, why hire him in the first place? So, one of the things that I joke about often is I learn from my failures, but I do so by failing forward, right? So at least I'm making 5.5 feet of distance every time I fall in the right direction. So for you, what are some of those leadership moments or concepts or ideas that you've had to really unlearn over time, and maybe what does that look like, and how you've changed how you lead?
Well, in terms of unlearning, I've had to unlearn the idea that hard work is enough. Without the right environment, mentorship, and community, it doesn't always translate into growth. And that's something that I've become real intentional about, and something that I really respect about communities like TechAllies that actively create these environments. So that's something I've had to unlearn.
Yeah, absolutely. So therefore, or excuse me, not therefore, that would be a good one to edit, but we're going to go ahead and leave it in there because this is authentic. It's real. So when you are leading, obviously you're leading somebody. So you've got a team with you. Presumably you had teams in the past. for me personally, I hope that people who have experienced time with me, who I'm leading or working with, no matter what, when they leave a better person or more experienced than when they started with me. Obviously, I don't like when people leave, but it is just natural. So for you, when people are working closely with you, what are some of those experiences that you hope they have in being around you?
Well, I would say I hope people feel, first of all, supported, but it's also very important to me that they feel challenged. We try to create an environment where people are expected to step up, take ownership, and really grow. But what's important is that they're not doing it alone. The balance is really important to me because it reflects what helped me early on. A lot of what I do today is really just trying to recreate that same experience that I had. And that's why being connected to a group like TechAllies just feels so aligned.
It's good. I appreciate that. Moving into where you're spending some of your time today. So, whenever I ask this question, I always love to hear, maybe it's personal side of stuff, what's important to you, family, travel, whatever it might be. And then, of course, there's always the answer for work. So, what are you building? What's maybe something new at the organization, and really what's taking that focus of yours. So, right now, where are you spending most of your time focused and building?
Well, I think like a lot of folks, a lot of my time right now is really focused on how quality and governance evolve in this new AI world. AI is accelerating development. We're seeing teams move faster than ever. AI can generate code, even create test cases very quickly. But what's often missing is the structure behind it. The real challenge isn't just testing anymore; it's traceability. Can you clearly tie requirements to what was built, how it was tested, and ultimately to what was released? In regulated environments, especially with things like SOX compliance, that's just not optional. You need to be able to prove that what went into production was validated intentionally, not loosely coupled with to requirements and assumed to be correct. So what we're building at SQA Squared is a model that combines AI with strong governance, using AI to accelerate, but anchoring it in traceability, independent validation, and real clear audit paths. Because without that, you may be moving fast, but you really don't know or can prove that you're moving in the right direction.
It's good. I love it. And it sounds technical and important, and I'm sure you guys are the right people for it. So that's great to hear. Um, Obviously, in those focuses and that work that you're doing, I'm assuming there's a lot of challenges that you're going through, or probably do go through. I know me personally, I sometimes feel like I wake up and it's a challenge just getting out of bed. So, for you, what are some of those challenges you're facing right now, and maybe even how is that forcing you to think or lead differently?
I go right back to the previous message, which really the biggest challenge right now is that AI is creating a gap between speed and accountability. Teams can produce more than ever, but there's a growing risk that they can't fully explain or defend what's produced. AI can generate test cases, but it doesn't inherently ensure that those test maps back to requirements or that the right risks are being covered. That's really where traceability and governance still require human judgment and structure. So it's forcing me to lead differently. We're spending more time focusing on how we build systems that enforce traceability, how we validate not just that something works, but that it works correct in context, and how we prepare organizations for audit and regulatory scrutiny. I'm proud to say that we have always had tools and approaches to prove traceability, but now we can do it at the speed of AI. Also, it's also changing how we develop our teams. We're putting more emphasis on critical thinking, understanding systems end to end, and really taking ownership. Because in this environment, tools can generate output, but people are still responsible for the outcomes. Speed without governance just increases the cost of being wrong. And I think that tension between speed and accountability is really going to define where the industry goes next.
It's interesting. It's good stuff. So, obviously leading into the people side of things now. So I'm going to tie it into Tech Allies here. I know for me personally, just my growth and my past, my development, mentors are important to me. People who have been there, done that are important to me. And there are a countless number of people I could sit here and just say they opened a door for me. I owe them everything, and genuinely meaning it, of course. One of the things that I really was drawn to at Tech Allies is their focus on the next generation, right? Making sure that the expertise that we have today is passed on, allowing those who don't have the proper opportunity the ability to have that opportunity. And so the stories I've heard have been just phenomenal across the board. But given that Tech Allies is opening doors for people, I'd love to hear, and you mentioned it earlier too, but maybe we can dig in a little bit deeper of an experience you've had where somebody opened the door for you and really gave you an opportunity to do something.
You said it. I mentioned it earlier. Really early in my career, there were people. I'm thinking of Mr. Ponce, Mr. Alvarado, who took the time to invest in me, and open doors into opportunities in tech. They provided exposure, encouraged me to pursue STEM. These programs through. I'm thinking of one called MESA, and helped accelerate my path in ways that I couldn't have navigated on my own. And that experience stuck with me. It taught me that sometimes the biggest impact you can make on someone isn't just giving them answers. It's opening a door and giving them a chance. Today, that directly shapes how I show up, whether it's within our company or even through broader communities like Tech Allies. I try to create those same moments for others where they can just step into something bigger than what they thought was possible.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching our conversation today. We want to take a moment to recognize one of our partners that has made this possible. At Tech Allies, everything we do is centered around relationships, connecting the right people, fostering meaningful conversations, and creating opportunities for collaboration and growth. Whether it's helping companies find talent, supporting new initiatives, or building strategic partnerships, strong communication is always at the core. That's why we're excited to partner with Zoom. Zoom is an all-in-one AI-first communications and collaboration platform that empowers people to connect and get work done from anywhere. With reliable video meetings, chat, phone, and contact center capabilities, all integrated into a unified workplace platform, Zoom makes it easy for organizations to streamline communication and enhance productivity. We're grateful for Zoom's partnership with Tech Allies and their support of this podcast. Now let's get back to Billy and our incredible guest as they continue their conversation.
It's good. So the name Tech Allies obviously has the word ally in it. So I'm curious to know what that means for you. What does that look like in action? When you hear the word ally, what does that mean?
I think being an ally is less about intent and really more about action. It's easy to say you want to help people, but what really matters is whether you're really creating real opportunities. Are you making introductions? Are you advocating for someone where they're not in the room? Are you trusting people with responsibilities? So to me, being an ally means you're actively helping someone move forward and not just supporting them from a distance.
Yeah, that's good. So you couple things you said in there made me think of this as well, but as a bit of a transition into what Tech Allies does on a routine basis. I always like to share a quick story, and probably people at this point are getting tired of it, but we'll continue saying it. So my first experience with Tech Allies actually is the day I met you as well, over at Alan's house. And one of the coolest parts that I found is how quickly everybody there welcomed me in. I was a new one, and I am in the tech industry tangentially, kind of related a bit, but not necessarily the way that you and others are in an ongoing basis. So I felt initially I was like, I'm going to be a little bit of on the outside. What is this going to be like, right? Who am I going to be meeting? Not really even a networker to begin with, but Alan immediately came and said, hi, here, let me show you around. I didn't even know it was his house. and he's just like, hey, go talk to these people. Go, here's Trisha. Let's go do this, whatever. And then talking with you, I remember being, outside chatting with you, and just how quickly you were open to just sharing. And then more importantly, just broadly, is asking about me, right? And so one of the things that is really different is that community effort. So or excuse me, that community environment rather that I experienced. And that's when I was like, man, we've got to showcase everybody here because they're incredible people. Um, and I loved it. So for you, what when you think of Tech Allies and the community it's building and has built, um, what stands out? How are leaders, connecting? How are they collaborating? And of course, we've said it multiple times here, but they're giving back to STEM, the future in STEM. Um, it's pretty amazing. What does that mean to you? What are your experiences? What is this?
Well, I remember that night. I always have such a great time with Tech Allies and their events, and really, I think what I've seen that with Tech Allies that's different from you talked about not wanting to have those network events. It's what's different from those traditional networking events is that it actually leads to meaningful outcomes. People really do connect. So it's not just these handshake connections and just but people really interact and really build relationships with each other. For me, a great example of that is for us is Trinity Industries. We were introduced to them through this network and through their CIO Heidi Cox and so we started as an introduction. And it really turned into this really strong partnership. At this point, they're not just clients to us. They're aligned in how they think about building and collaboration and investing in people. And that's the type of folks that are part of this network. That really stands out to me. Tech Allies isn't just about expanding your network. It's about creating relationships and having those conversations that are meaningful, and relationships that actually go somewhere, where both sides are aligned in values and are building towards something meaningful together. That's been our experience with Trinity. It's a great example of what this Tech Allies community can create when it's working the way it's intended to.
That's great. I actually had a conversation recording with Heidi as well, and I'm not sure at this point if it's been posted or it will be posted by the time that this one's live. But she spoke very highly of you and the time that she had, or time that they are working with you guys, and so it's really cool to see the full circle of that and hear both sides of it. And I agree. The relationships that are built there, both from a personal as well as a working and professional space, is really fun. Fun to see, and it's incredible. So, and the important part too, as we've mentioned several times, is everybody's aligned in addition to that, to why Tech Allies is here, which is for those earlier in their careers, right, and helping them. So therefore, I always like to ask, if somebody is listening who maybe is early in the tech industry, maybe they're even thinking about getting the tech industry, or they're looking to take that next step. What is a piece of advice that you would offer them that maybe you wish somebody would have told you earlier in your career?
I think it's going to be really aligned to our discussion, because what I would say is don't just focus on your skills, focus on relationships. And that's what Tech Allies does so well. The people around you will shape your opportunities more than anything else. So be intentional about finding environments and communities like Tech Allies where people are willing to invest in each other. And when you do find people, you got to show up, you got to contribute, and you got to take ownership of your growth. Because the reality is, someone may open a door, but it's up to you to walk through it and really make the most of it. Of course, and over time, you'll find yourself in a position to do the same for others, and that's really the idea of just helping each other. What Tech Allies is doing is creating those moments where one introduction, one opportunity can completely change someone's trajectory. I'm a product of that, and now I participate in it. Back then and especially now.
Yeah, that's good. And 100%. I think if I were to give somebody some advice, it's definitely to jump in to do the action, right? Especially if somebody's putting a hand out, go for it. Otherwise, those hands are going to start to not be put out there. So, George, it's been really good. I've enjoyed getting to know you. I know our listeners will also. I like to land the plane with a little bit of fun here. It's called the lightning round. It's very easy, just a few questions. Whatever first comes to your mind. Would love the quick answer. Sound good?
Okay, sound good.
Awesome. All right, first one: coffee or tea?
Oh, coffee. Best part of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. That's 5:30 in the morning. I've got my coffee. I'm looking forward to the rest of the day. All right, a book, podcast, or resource that's influenced you the most.
Two come to mind, if I may. The first one is Left of Bang. It had a really big impact on me early on. It really shaped how I think about awareness and patterns and anticipating risk. I actually used it as a lot in the thinking of how we built QA 2.0, our QA 2.0 framework. So that's the first one. And then more recently, I would say the Go Giver, which is just reinforces the idea that long-term success really comes from creating relationships and values for others. So that's what I would say.
That's good. I love that. Both sound amazing, and I'm a book nerd, so I'm going to have to get both of them. All right. So what's a bucket list item that you have already checked off in life?
That one's an easy one. Building a company from the ground up and really seeing it create opportunities for people. That's something I don't take lightly.
Yeah, it's one of the most challenging things next to having children, but it's also very rewarding. So what's a goal you're still chasing in life?
Continue to build our company. We're really moving towards an employee-owned model. Early on, I benefit from the opportunities that I mentioned to change my trajectories, and I want to extend that further by giving our team members that not just careers, but actually building ownership in what they're building. There's a quote that I always think about from Naval Ravikant that it stuck with me. It's you're not going to get rich renting out your time. You need to own equity. And that's something I want to create more of, real ownership and long-term opportunities for our team.
That's great. I love that perspective, and I wish you all the best in that. So final one for you, easy one. In one sentence, what does TechAllies represent to you?
I would say a group of people who don't just connect, they actively help each other change each other's trajectories. I've seen firsthand what that can turn into.
It's perfect. All right, George, I really do appreciate your time here, and it was just good getting to know you a little bit more than even the first time we met. So if anybody wants to get a hold of you, what's one of the best ways to do so?
Well, the best way is they can either email me at gnunez@sqasquared.com, or I'm also at george.nunez@sqaai.com, or LinkedIn.
Perfect. I love it. Well, there you have it. This has been a conversation with George, a Tech Allies podcast. And if you've enjoyed this episode, we'd love for you to follow along and continue the conversation with the Tech Allies community. I'm Billy Mitchell, and I'll see you next time.